Let's take a look at the solution for the other exercise that we had, creating a counter. This is the first solution that we can see, where we have a variable called dollar counter, and then in the request, in the route, the main route of slash, every time we are going to increment this counter and return the counter. So this is in the folder counter 1. Let me show you counter 1. And if I run this lookup, it starts on port 5000, and now I can go to localhost 5000, and you can see that it counts. And so far is okay, but if I stop the application and start it again, and I reload the page, then it starts again. It starts from 1 again, and that's because we don't have any storage here, so we just keep it in the memory. So that's not really what I wanted. Let's try to another solution. So in this solution, it's a little bit more complex. We have the file name count.txt that we are going to use as our storage for counter, and what we have here is I just don't want just to use count.txt as it is, because then it will be related to the current working directory. And if I run this, if I start the application while I am in the main directory of the application, then that's going to be the current working directory. If I happen to be in some other place, maybe when I'm running a server, maybe the current working directory is some other place, then it will be different. So I'd rather calculate the location of this counter. And I still don't have a special data directory for data, and of course that would be better, so not to store the data in the same directory where my code is. But for this small example, it's okay. The main interesting part here is that I use the find bin bin. There are many ways to do this, but find bin is one of the modules, one of the standard modules that provides this $bin variable, and this is the usual way I write it. So $find bin that would point to the directory where the current executing script is located. So this is going to be pointing to the directory of where the app.psgi is. And then I'm using the file spec module, the cat file method of it, that could be actually also used as a function, but in this case I'm using the method version that concatenates basically pieces of a file path. So it concatenates the path to the directory with the name of the file. So this is going to be in the count.txt in the same directory where we have the app.psgi, but now it doesn't matter what is a current working directory. This is now related, relative to where the app.psgi is. So it doesn't matter where I am, where the person or the process that runs it. So this is the counter file, and then the route is just a simple counter here. So basically I have the $counter that starts from 0, and then if the file exists, then we open the file and read the single value that we assume that's in there. Of course, the first time when I run this application, there's going to be no file, so counter will remain 0. Then here we increment it, and then we write back to the file the current number. Okay, so yes, it won't handle properly if there are multiple people connecting to it. We are not there yet, right? This opens the file for writing, and then we print out the counter to the file handler, and we return to the user the counter. So this is when the first time runs, and the second time already we'll have the file, and then we're going to replace the content of the $counter, which was 0, by the value that's in the file. And again, Perl doesn't care about strings and numbers so much, so even though in the file it's a string, and when we are reading in it a string, plus will work on it, because that's how Perl works. So this is in the counter.to directory. So let me get there. Counter.to, not without a dot actually. So now I can run this pluck up, Actually, let me stop it for a second. ls minus l to see there's nothing else here. So there's no counter. There's no file here. So I run the lookup, and I access the website. So I get the 1, and then 2, 3, just I would expect. So that's what you see here, the number. Okay, and then I can go back to the command line and stop the server. Now if I run ls minus l, then I can see that actually the file is here, and I can use cat to look at the content. And well, it's a little bit difficult, but it's here. Okay, so yeah, I know now. I just remembered that I shouldn't have the file full enlarged, because then sometimes people don't see at the bottom. So here what I just ran is I ran cat on count.txt, and it printed out the name 3, and it didn't print out any new line because there was no new line in the file. Okay, so that's okay. Now I can rerun the application again, okay, and connect to the server, look at the server, and if I reload, now it's gonna be 4. Okay, so it continues. So now I have a persistent data. But the question, how can I test this? So I can write the same kind of test that we had earlier, but I'm going to have a problem here. So because when I run the test, it actually runs the application, even though it won't open the port, but it runs sort of internally. So it will refer to the same counter.txt, the same file, counter.txt, that we are using also for the application. So every time I run the tests, that would also increment the count.txt, and I wouldn't be able even to check whether it returns properly the number, because it will, on every test run, it will be different, and I can't remove that count.txt because that's sort of our persistent storage for the real application. So what can we do? Well, this is why we have a third version for it. And this third version, the only thing I did here is I added an optional environment variable, which I just called counter test file. And I said, if this environment variable is given, then that's going to be the counter file. And if it's not given, then if it's not defined, then we are going to use the same thing as earlier. All the rest of the code is the same. So I prepared this partially, or primarily, in order to make it easy for me to test the program. So now the program still runs the same, but now I can write a test. And in the test, what I'm doing is, well, actually it also makes it easy for some external way to set the counter file. So if I would, like, let's say, want to put it in a Docker file and want to make sure that the test file, the counter file is somewhere else. So maybe I shouldn't even call this counter test file, because it can be also used for just real production to define the counter file externally with a environment variable. But anyway, for now it's good. So what we do here in the test is that we would like to have a temporary location and temporary directory where we are going to store the data, and it can be any file name, of course. So in order to do this, we load the file temp module, and from there the tempdir function, and then we call tempdir, and we can pass it cleanup 1 or 0, meaning that cleanup 1 will mean that the temporary directory that this creates will be removed when this variable basically goes out of scope, or when the program ends. Then the directory will be removed, or at least Perl will attempt to remove it, because if it's in Windows, then maybe it can't. But if it's in Windows, and if you are somehow inside the directory or somehow using that file, then Windows won't be able to, or it won't be able to remove on Windows. Linux, there's no such issue. So this returns a path to a directory, which is created on the fly at this point. If in Linux, then it's probably in the /tmp in a subdirectory, and then in the test we set this environment variable to be the cnt.txt file in that directory. So again, we are using the cat file here to concatenate the path to the temporary directory and some file name. Okay, it can be any file name, so I just wanted to show you that that's different from the count.txt. Diag is something that part of test more that will just print out the path to this file, and then the application now, and then we can start the application. Okay, so that's the point when we load the application from the external file, and in the tests we can first of all send a GET request to the slash and expect the content to be 1. And then we are running a separate one, so this is going to be basically a separate, as if we had a separate browser connecting to it, okay, and it will get 2, okay, and we don't check here the persistent storage and anything else, so there could be other more tests here, but already I wanted to show you something that how to test a case when you have a database, sort of. Okay, in this case this is not real database, it's just a file, but a persistent storage, and how you can separate the one that's sort of built in or hard-coded, let's say, in the application from the one that you might be using for testing. So if I switch to the terminal again and go to the counter, so this is what we have here. Here actually I have a count.txt already. For historical reason, it has 7 in it. Okay, apparently when I ran it earlier, but I can just run proof test on this, and it says okay, and it also printed out, so that this is the diag printing out where is the directory. So now I can try to look at this file, and it won't be there because we told it to clean it up. But let's just take a look at what happens if we don't do that. So let's edit the test file and replace this 1 by a 0. So this is basically true or false here, the meaning of them. And then let's run the proof and test again. And now, first of all, you can see that this is a different file. Okay, this is a different directory. And then we can also run cat on it, and you can see that the number 2 is there. So yeah, maybe if I run it, yeah, cat is okay. Okay, so you can see that the number 2 was in the file. I can open it with Vim in order to show it clearly that the number 2 is there, and that's it. And if I run it again, then it will run in a different, create a different directory. So that's just a way to also write tests. So I hope that this helps in your further applications, and then now we can continue with the next chapter of the learning dancer. See you and that.